When it is realized that there is no path, no process, that the absolute nature has always been closer than close, it has always been that which is seeing and sensing and being aware and registering the experience. So, in that sense, there's never been a journey. You can't arrive to what you are and what everything is, this fundamental nature. So when this is directly seen, right? So that's when the path, the spiritual path, collapses in this timelessness, where every arising is baseless, is groundless, is acausal. Right? There is no sense that this thought is generating the next thought and that generating the next response, which creates an illusory sense of continuity, which is very much part of a sense of a relative processing. So in the absolute sense, none of that's happening. That's why it's sometimes referred to as non-arising, that we can't even locate anything actually happening. So this is a like slightly dangerous view because it can become a view. So if this is prematurely adopted, it leads to spiritual bypassing, or in some cases, it leads to nihilism. Because it's basically telling you that the true nature of all sentient beings and the true nature of everything is this primordial state, meaning that samsara is nirvana. But if you use this view to bypass the journey, however imaginary it is from the absolute point of view, but if you use this view to bypass this very powerful and paradoxical and transformative process, like metamorphosis, like sure, like you can intellectually understand that everything is already enlightenment, but have you actually realized this? Do you live this effortlessly and spontaneously, moment by moment? Is this your like living realization? Like if not, of course, there's nothing wrong with having different views in life. Like that's how human beings operate, that they have various views about reality, religious views, scientific views, existential views, and this could be one of them. But there's a difference between day and night, whether this is actually realized or not. Of course, this doesn't make sense for the rational mind, for the conventional mind. Like if the Buddha nature is already self-perfected, it's already primordially present, nothing could ever be done to improve it. Then how could there be then this process of transformation? Like what is it that transforms there? Well, these kind of questions may arise during this path, but interestingly, when this is experientially realized, there's even no need to understand this paradox because it cannot be understood. There's no need to deny the relative reality of processing, of progress with certain aspects of our body mind capacity to embody realization, for example. There's no need to bypass. So the absolute is never used as a way to hide from the relative experience or as a way to override the relative experience when it is this inconceivable, non-conceptual living mystery. Like actually using the absolute insight to negate the relative reality or bypass it or dismiss it, it remains a partial realization. It remains this dualistic position where the relative is seen as fundamentally something other than absolute, even though we intellectually understand that that's not the case. But experientially, if this distinction is still there, yeah, that's the subtle division that is still there. And in some cases, the confusion can even come from conflating the absolute and the relative, meaning that they are exactly the same. That can also lead to spiritual bypassing, but in a different form. So the absolute and the relative, they are not two and they're not one. That's the paradox of non-duality. And in words, it sounds conceptual, it sounds abstract, all of this. Like I'm aware, but the experiential reality of it is like the most magnificent and wild and beautiful and extraordinary, ordinary revelation. And at some point, it's not even a revelation anymore. Like there's just nothing like tracking the experience or reflecting it or trying to understand it. It's just what it is. It's just this, original state. So at least when I look into my own experience, it makes sense to say that, yes, this pristine Buddha nature has always been the case. But also it doesn't, because there is no time. So time was created out of thoughts and the causal link between thoughts. So in that sense, it's impossible to say that there has been this so-called past when this was unrealized. And then there's a moment when this is realized. And like when time collapses into non-linearity, this kind of simultaneous synchronistic arising or non-arising, it ceases to make sense to talk about the process in a way that sounds like it actually happened in such a linear manner. Like it can be talked about like that for the sake of a story, for the sake of sharing our awakening story, because it has a certain sense of reality to it. But at the same time, if I look into this pristine nature, into this pristine, non-dual, fundamental nature, like all these questions, all these words, they cease. And to me, it's clear there has been like a very mysterious and powerful transformation, which is still continuing. And the closest metaphor that I have for this transformation is the one that a caterpillar undergoes, like in a chrysalis. Like it completely melts, this type of total restructuring at the molecular level of our being. And then the emergence of that apparent annihilation of something of a different order. And this impossibility to go back, right? So we passed this gateless gate multiple times actually during this process. And that's exactly what characterizes it, that we can't go back. And at the same time, it's almost impossible to explain like what happened there, because there's no actual passage. Like, what is it that apparently changes? Nothing changes, and kind of like everything changes. So strictly speaking, the absolute view is not a view. It's a kind of viewless view. So in the same way, like an eyeball, like a singular eyeball, it cannot see itself. It cannot have a view upon itself. In the same way, the immediacy of this inconceivable, non-conceptual spontaneity, it cannot be an object of perception. Like if we take a distance from it and see it in a particular manner through a view or through a framework, it will always just be a limitation, a constructed limitation. So the different views can be part of the process of clarifying our perception, clarifying the lens of perception, and clearing the delusive hindrance in our experience when they're used skillfully. But eventually, this goes beyond all the views. All the views are dismantled in this viewless view. And it's truly experiential. But it's very hard. I mean, it's very easy for this viewless view or this no path to become a view. It's very easy for the intellect to understand this and mistake that for the actual thing, because the actual thing is nothing phenomenal. It's nothing spectacular. It's so ordinary. That is its secrets. It's so ordinary, this simplicity, this natural state, this spontaneous non-action, this dynamic ease, self-liberation. So it's nothing spectacular, and at the same time, there's a difference between day and night, whether the body is living in a natural state or whether the body is living in delusive hindrance, in a state of dualistic conception. And then, using this view of no path to just say that samsara is nirvana, that will just do nothing, for those conceptual constrictions and fetters in our experience. So here are some of the misconceptions related to the no path view. So yeah, one of them is this idea that it means that the relative experience of a process and transformation is completely seen as illusory or non-relevant or non-existent, that is bypassed completely. So that's the first misconception, because it doesn't mean that at all. And the second misconception is that it's some sort of state of absolute arrival or crossing some sort of final line into which, after which there is nothing more to do, because reality is realized to be this primordial freedom, like just by the way it arises, is this absolute freedom expressing itself. So for the mind, it may sound like, wow, that's it. After that is being realized and achieved, then life is just ease and flow, and we'll never experience anything uncomfortable or challenging or disturbing ever again. And it definitely doesn't mean that. So living in the natural state, which is the state of viewless view, which is the no path reality, it's an endless unfolding, it's an endless deepening, endless clarification, spontaneous engagement. spontaneous responsiveness. It's a way of liberation. It's not some sort of a state that is being achieved. So yeah, that's another misconception that I think is really common. And then the third misconception is that if you intuitively grok this, if you have kind of seen this in your direct experience, that this is the case, then that's it. That's all there is to it. So I think it's really important to be very honest with ourselves, So as long as there is anything in the experience that is still having the quality of seeking, still having the quality of going somewhere or making something happen, resisting what is, kind of fundamental belief that reality could or should be something different. So if there are even vague, subtle remnants of that, then the unfettering process hasn't been completed, and it's not very skillful then to use this realization of no path and primordial state as there's just nothing more to do, there's nowhere to go, because there is still often like stickiness in our experience in regards to samsara, in regards to, you could say, diluted vision. So if there's any tendency still to, contract around fixations, any tendency to kind of identify with certain aspects of the experience that are, sticky, we should still then practice discernment. We should still practice discerning between habitual patterns and the unconditioned mind. We should, make a difference between samsara and nirvana until it clarifies in our experience, in our direct experience. So when it's so effortless that the so-called conventional samsaric reality arises with total transparency, like without any fixation, without any stickiness, without any like reaction in our system to push and pull around it, without any attachment, without any rejection, then it's indiscriminate display. Then it's very clear that it's just the nature of the mind experiencing itself. But I think it's just good to be honest and not to use ever this absolute view to kind of pretend that we are more enlightened than what we are. Because there's just nothing good is going to come out of it. Like using this absolute view to say that, there is no karma, there's no causality, there's no cause and effect. It's all just a spontaneous non-arising, when clearly in the experiential relative level, we are engaged in situations like relative dynamics where there is cause and effect, and that can be clearly felt. So it's never meant to be used like that, the absolute view, but it often gets used like that in the spiritual culture. So there is something like astonishing about the capacity to be just very human, even if you have had deep realizations, like powerful transformations. Like even if you have tapped into the extraordinary dimensions countless times, and they have transformed forever the way you experience, reality moment by moment. Yet this human experience is here, and it's, it has its own vulnerabilities, it has its own complexities. It has its own idiosyncrasies. And sometimes that's all that is really needed is just to be that without having to make anything out of it. You can just drop these ideas and views and experiences of realization completely, and just experience directly in the body what appears to be happening. If it's a state of contraction, if it's a state of tension, if there's fear, if there's confusion, if there's resistance, it takes actually like a lot of honesty and courage and sincerity to feel that without having to use spirituality as a way to give it a special meaning.